What's up, people? I'm Xogue here with a How Stuff Works video. Now, I know intros suck, but bear with me, this will be quick. These videos are designed to explain how a mod works and are not designed to go through any particular setup or any specific concept. If there is something like that you're looking for and just want to be told how to set something up to get something within the mod, look at the other videos in the playlist. If they're not there yet, they will be. You can request particular concepts within the mod to be created, and I will make videos for them once I have time. And the link to the playlist is also going to be in the description, so you can get there if you're not there already. I always have series going on the channel. I would really appreciate it if you would check those out. Obviously, everything you need to find is going to be on my channel page. And of course, other forms of support are also available in the links in the description. Links to everything I've just described are in the description, so check all those out. But let's go ahead and get to it. This How Stuff Works video is all about Embers Rekindled, which is an important distinction. It is not for Embers. There was a mod a while ago called Embers. This is the new version, and I don't know what the differences are. So this one is for Embers Rekindled. And if you're watching any other video, make sure it is for the Rekindled version and not the old version. Like I said, there may not be many differences. The old videos might work, but just kind of be mindful of it in case something doesn't work. At least you'll know why. So anyway, this mod is all about other ways to do things. They give you a lot of different options. There are tools, there are smelting options, there are alloying options. There are a lot of things that you can do in this mod. So the first thing is that you get the book. The book is called a Codex in this case, 2 archaic bricks and an ancient motive core, all of which can be gotten from the mobs that spawn, the golems that shoot these ember shots at you from their eyeballs. Okay, they'll shoot those things at you. Those are the things you kill in order to get those materials. You make the Codex, and when you go into the Codex, you have each tab here. So when you go in here, you're not going to have any of this. I can actually get rid of it, which is an interesting concept, really. You're going to have something like this. So you want to read everything for sure, but if you've already done it, you can just right-click to say, hey, I've done this, and you tell the book, hey, I've completed these things before. I don't need to see them again, and it will let you continue. So you can actually skip right to the sections that you need. Because every time I load the world, at least in my case, I'm not sure how it would be in a survival world or long-term thing, but at least in my world, this is reset every single time I come into it. So you're going to have to do this quite a bit if you want to get to certain things. But anyway, so if you just keep right-clicking, you can say, hey, I've done this, so on and so forth, and you'll get to a lot of interesting concepts. The first tab is all about how to acquire Ember and monitoring it, such as dials and the gauges and everything. A little bit about transportation is also a thing you can get. As you can see, it gives you a lot of options for stuff. And there we go. So that's the first tab, is how to get Ember in the first place. Once you've gotten to the pressure refinery, that's the best way to do Ember generation. And what it tells you about is to get the bore, basically craft the bore, feed it furnace fuel items, and it will start to work, and it will start generating a few items. The items on the top, these guys right here, are the crystals that will feed your pressure refinery or the Ember activator. This guy right here is a slightly cheaper version of these guys, but it doesn't give you as much Ember. I'm going to go over something in a second. The other two, this is actually basically it's basically a piece of coal, and you can even put it back in there to feed your Ember bore. Now you don't get enough of them for a self-sustaining system. You will run out of them eventually. You will have to have some other kind of fuel, but it can help offset the cost by a little bit. And these guys are just, sure, they're mundane stones. You can use them to put mundane on an item or something, which is about augmenting weapons, and that's also in the book. Now you send those crystals here into a pressure refinery or an Ember activator, which will then generate Ember for you. And the reason that I generally skipped straight to the pressure refinery is because if you look at the Ember activator, it requires a couple of iron plates, which aren't always easy to get in your mod packs. They're not always difficult. You know, they might be decent. They might be okay. But if we go to the pressure refinery, it's not that much more expensive. This is just a block of copper. So it gets rid of the need for the iron plates and adds a bunch more copper. And that's about it. So if you have enough copper, it's worth getting the upgraded version. And also, I wanted to note this right here. You see the production multiplier is 3x. But it's also 3x here. So you can have standing lava, which makes sense, around this. But you can also have flowing lava, and it will still give you the production multiplier. Now, the block it's sitting on has to be a metal block. And it says all this in the book itself, but I figured I'd go over it right here. But there are a couple substances, such as copper. I forget the other two. There's two more. Copper, I want to say electrum, and one other. There's one other one that actually give the 3x multiplier. Other blocks of metal within the mod give less than 3. It's not by much. It's like 2.67 or 2.84 or something like that. But it is less. So copper is probably the easiest one for anybody to get. Put a copper block below, surround it with lava. Flowing lava works fine. And you will get the maximum Ember production from it. Now the second tab goes through about transferring the Ember itself. Before, those other pipes were transferring solid items. And they do have a fluid version as well, as you can see over here. They do have a fluid pipe. But Ember, I don't believe, is either one of those, and I don't think you can use the pipes to transfer it. So they have a separate item meant for transferring Ember, and that's all in the Ember transfer stuff. And basically, you craft the emitters and the receptors, I think they're called. And in order to link the two, so you know, the emitter would emit the thing, so you put it on your refinery, and the receptor would receive. And you put it on top of something that can either use, such as one of these guys, or any other machine within the mod, or like I have here, a copper cell, which is also in the second tab about Ember storage. And that's basically your battery for Ember. So in order to link the two, shift right click on the receptor and right click on that guy. And now they're linked forever. If I needed anything if this guy wasn't already full, oh, he's not full. Are we not generating? We must not. Oh, I must have. Did I turn this off? There it is. Okay, now it's working again. I didn't realize I turned it off at some point. Anyway, so now as you can see, these guys are receiving. They are sending directly to it, and everything's good. These guys do need redstone signal. Levers work just fine if you have another way to wirelessly send them to them, so you don't have to look at, I don't know, nasty levers on top of everything, then so be it. But it is a good way to turn on and off the system at any given point in the system. So I could turn it off here to stop all the items from going into the chests, or I could turn it off over here to stop the Ember. You get the idea. Redstone. Redstone controls... It basically is what turns on and off any particular component. So that's a thing, including the extractors and these guys. You understand what I'm saying. So that is that as far as the transfer of Ember, the basic transfer of Ember goes. It also goes, the second tab also goes into some basic uses, such as the melter. You can melt down items into their liquid form, such as molten copper, molten whatever. And then you have the centrifuge, which is what allows you to alloy metals. And then it goes one step further in telling you how exactly to get dawnstone, which is actually, I'm not sure if it tells you exactly. Oh yeah, golden copper. So if you melt down golden copper, you can then send the items into the centrifuge, which it goes over exactly how to use it in the book. So I don't need to go over that for you, but yeah. And there's a couple other uses in here. There's a pump in here, automatic breaker, things like that, the stamper, a few other basic uses. Now, as far as Ember transfer is concerned, there are other things you can do with it. They have splitters, for example. There are other, let's see if we go in here. Oh, this is just says that. Okay. There's probably a bigger section. Yeah, okay. So you have the Ember ejector, which is basically just like the emitter, still requires a redstone signal, but it sends more out at a time. Problem with the ejector is that it spits so much, a regular receptor might be overfilled and you might lose some ember from it. That's when they have the ember funnel, which catches more. It's basically a bigger version of the receptor you can use. So you can transfer larger quantities of ember out, and it works out pretty well there. No, here, yes. Then you have the splitter, which you can use the ejector into a splitter, and it will obviously split it in two different directions, and each side of the splitter can be bound to a separate receptor or funnel. And you can just keep splitting it over and over and over again if that's something you would like to do. So basically, I could replace this entire setup with a splitter, and we would be fine. None of this is absolutely necessary. The only reason this is here is just so I can show you that there is a battery backup. But the beam splitter would work here just fine. There would be no issues at all. I could put one splitter in there and we would be good to go. And the other thing, and those things can be chained, by the way, the splitters. You can have a splitter going into a splitter going into a splitter. So you can split it as many times as you want. However, there is another version. The Ember Transfer, this guy will allow you, basically, if you send if you send Ember into it, it can split it into up to 5 different directions. So if you have 5 machines around an area, you can put that one item in there, and it will be capable of sending Ember to all of them equally, which is another pretty interesting concept. So Ember Transfer is not a problem. You could, in almost every single case, if not every case, you should be able to send Ember exactly where and in what quantity you need it in. It shouldn't be that difficult to set up. And of course, all the information is in the book, so we're not going over exact details. This tab also goes through a lot of the more specific things you can do, such as the cinder plinth, which gives you some kind of burnt something. What? Ash, that's right, ash, which is useful in other cases. The metal aspect, which is also useful. You use this in combination with ash on the transmutation table to do some specific things, which is pretty cool. The beam cannon it's basically a really strong attack, or it's used for transmutation. You have the weapons and tools that I was talking about. Just a lot of interesting things for you to take a look at in here. Now, the other tabs start to go into a lot more specific things and a lot more difficult things you can use here, okay? When taking damage, it will absorb the type of damage taken. By stitching one to your ashen cloak and a crafting table with a piece of string, it will reduce the damage you take from that damage source. So there's very specific items in here that give you very specific things, including this blade, I guess, which is pretty nifty. You got this other stuff. You got baubles, other things, and even the other tabs go further with augmenting weapons and armor. There are a couple of things you can do, it's almost like spells almost. Like it adds effects to other items within the mod. So item augments more so. And then you got, the automatic hammer and the anvil, and you just have a lot of stuff. And this one right here is all about like potions, kind of. It's really, they call it brews. If you go to number 1, it's like you got ale and vodka, and basically alcoholic brews. But they give you special effects, just like a potion would. Only these effects are kind of interesting. They're a little bit different. In this case, this damage boost stacks up to 5 times for up to 400%. However, when you take a hit while under the effects of ale, you also take extra damage. So it's basically it's like a berserk in this case. You do more damage, but you take more damage. So it's just one of those things. Like, there's a lot of interesting stuff in the mod. So the basic concept of the mod is to explore it, is to figure out exactly what you want from the mod. Once you have that answer, what are you looking for the mod to do for you? That's when you can start, you can make your board, to get your crystals, send into your pressure refinery, to send the ember into the machine you need in order to make the thing that you want. That's the basic concept of the mod. You do have the dials here, which are very handy. It not only tells you, how much ember is in a particular thing. As you can see here, it tells us the production multiplier of the pressure refinery. I don't know if it'll actually tell us anything for this. No, it doesn't look like it does. But you just stick it on things to see if it tells you anything about it. Like, it's something you can do. It just gives you information about a thing. I wonder if it'll tell us, like, how many ingots are in this. No. What about on the bottom? There tells you how much ember is in there. So that's pretty cool. And this is the alloying system. This is what's set up here. You have the one melter, two melters, okay? Two different melters. One doing gold, which I think everything is now melted, actually. But one doing gold and one doing copper, was it? Whatever the other one was. And again, it says so in the book, so you don't need to, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But just read the book about Dawnstone and you'll know what I'm talking about. And then you hook this guy up with the centrifuge. And with Ember, it will be able to pipe out the Dawnstone into this guy, which is the stamper. The stamper has an ingot. I just got rid of it. Here we go. The bar stamp. They call it a bar stamp, but it's basically an ingot stamp. And as soon as this has enough for the ingot stamp to do anything about, it will stamp all on its own, and it will just send it right into here, and we get the Dawnstone ingots from it. So it's pretty cool. It works out really, really well. It's a very nifty mod, something to check out and look at. So hopefully that gives you at least enough information about the mod so that you can figure out what it is you want and get it yourself. That's the basic idea of this video, is that it gives you just enough information to do what you want to do with it, and create your own setups if you need to. So that's about everything I wanted to go over about the mod, without going too much away with it, but giving you enough to do your own thing. I hope it's enough. If it's not, feel free to ask any questions or leave some comments in the description. Please do, and I will definitely reply to them. I reply to all my comments. But hit the like button if you liked the video. Subscribe to see more. I have a regular series. I think my intro said something about that. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, peeps.